Thank you for coming. My name is Joel Fury. For those of you who don't know me, I've been here for a little over almost 9 years now, September 2008. I came here and after completing services in the Navy as an officer. I was on a destroyer and an aircraft carrier doing maritime security, counterterrorism, counter-piracy operations in the Horn of Africa and Persian Gulf, and transitioned over into facilities later in my career in the Navy, and then I came here. So I've been here at SU for almost 9 years. Transitioned into doing a lot of site work, utility work, a lot of the work for the steam station, chilled water plant, a lot of the site work and big holes you've seen around campus over the last 9 years, the major road closures that you've seen around campus over the last 9 years. Most of those have been my projects. And I'm here today to discuss overall construction overview of what you're seeing beginning now and what you'll be seeing happening across this main portion of campus over the next 12 weeks, 14 weeks or so, going through move-in and a little bit beyond move-in. The project got a little bit of a slow start, but we're going to try to make up as much time as we can. So I'll have a quick agenda here. I just want to talk over a little bit of project context, what I mentioned there about a lot of the large utility projects that I've been involved with over my time here, including large site work projects. Talk about bus rerouting, the utility infrastructure piece, which is something I've been involved in heavily, site work improvements as well. We've been really rolling through some great site work improvements over the last few years that have all been utility driven to maximize the benefit to the university. We'll talk a little bit about the communications plan and then field questions about what you see going on and what you'll see going forward. So in a larger context, this is one large project of over 100 simultaneous projects across campus. You're going to see a lot of construction fence up across campus. Inside buildings, there's lots of work going on that many people don't even realize if they're not in the building that the work is occurring in. This project is taking place at a time where we're finding a lot of our critical university infrastructure in need of replacement. I think everyone remembers last September where there was a major electrical issue that took down about 6 buildings for about 6 hours during the middle of the academic day, which was extremely disruptive. And the root cause analysis of that was aging electrical infrastructure. From that September day, now like 9 months ago, through today, we've continuously done electrical infrastructure work. We haven't stopped since that time, and really there's no real finish line to that work. That's work that's going to just have to be continually done year after year after year. It's a continuous investment and that's required to keep the lights on every day, keep the heat on, keep the air conditioning on, keep the data going, all those sorts of things that keep the university operating on day to day. A lot of the work we've done over the years has been continuous effort to improve the university's site experience, and we've been using this utility work as a driver for that. If many of you remember the Orange Grove, that construction was a little bit before my time. That had a major utility component. The work that expanded Q3, eliminating that parking lot, allowed for installation of a new chilled water main to serve Carnegie Library and Bound Hall. The work between Physics, Archbold North was all done in conjunction with a very large drainage improvements, a new electrical service that had to be built out to Deneen Hall, as well as Sims Drive. The project pulled some critical infrastructure out of Sims Drive to make the future of that road a lot easier to deal with when we pulled the steam out of the road. So every time we've taken these steps of doing some critical utility infrastructure work, we've also at the same time put things back in a way that makes much more sense, in a way that really improves the site appearance of the university. So this project addresses all those needs while also supporting the overarching goals of the framework. So the construction phases are broken down to a few pieces. Initially, there's the bus stop relocations and additions. There's several components of utility infrastructure replacement. There's an overall improvement and parking lot spot reduction of the Q2 lot. There's a road work and site removals, the actual road and sidewalk of University Place being removed. A fairly large fill operation to bring the grade up in front of Byrd Library to start to help even out that road, which will generally make the pedestrian experience much better. Also help solve a major drainage problem we have there, as well as the potential for future development of a library expansion if that takes off. Concrete curb installation follows once we have that road removed. Then the brick pavers go in, the site amenities, site features start to be installed, then the landscaping and site lighting would go in. So these are the phases I'll talk through real quick. And this is the overall site. And this is, and to caveat this is developing right now. Right now, we are starting to put these pieces into place, but we can't close off this site until the buses are relocated. So we're making as much effort to get as much of this in as we can in anticipation for once the buses shift, we're able to close off and create a safe site, each piece with its own integrity to keep pedestrians separated from construction areas. So bear with us now over the next day and a half as we get this signage in place, we get this fencing in place. We get a lot of signage. The guys from LaChase will be putting out, as well as we have 2 student site reps that are working full-time on this project. They're patrolling this site continuously through the day, and these are the things they're going to be watching for. Fences in the appropriate place, signage that's in the appropriate place. I've done enough utility projects and closed enough roads around campus so I know that signage disappears on a daily basis, if not hourly. And we end up buying a lot of signs. So that's what they will be doing. I guess this is a good segue. I'm sorry, I just introduced myself, but I'm managing the project along with Jim Blum from Campus Planning. I'm sure a lot of you have worked with Jim he's been here probably, 12 years? 11 years. Also with us, our student site reps, Bobby and Josh. They'll be here every day working with LaChase. And from LaChase, Jason Hicks is the lead guy in charge of the project. He's also got Dana and Dale with him. They're living down in a trailer down there behind Watson. They're here. The project schedule calls for them being here 60, 70 hours a week, 6, 7 days a week, depending on conditions. All right, so this work is underway right now, the bus stop addition and relocation. The concrete was poured at the new Waverly stop and I believe at the Ernie Davis stop yesterday, and I think we're finishing up concrete at South Krause today. So this bus stop restriping scope will be complete by June 2nd. The main things to know from this is this effort is in conjunction with the City of Syracuse, CNS Engineers, who's working for both us and the City of Syracuse. This work will take the cycle track, turn it into a one-way cycle track, and add sharrows in the opposite direction. It's going to separate the bike traffic and allow for the elimination of the safety issue of where the cycle track presents situations where bicyclists are in head-on situations with buses. So this improvement takes away that aspect. The new stops where they're located now, I believe, my feeling right now based on the city's upcoming project is the 2 spots in front of Ernie Davis will stay where they're at. And the city's upcoming project, which actually goes down University Place, across Waverly, and down Comstock, they're going to be rebuilding that road as early as next summer. With a whole restriping plan focused on pedestrian and vehicular and cyclist. It's a multimodal government grant. That project will give us the opportunity to improve those stops on Waverly. And our intention is to continue our involvement in that project to try to bring both of those stops, and you see in the orange locations and the one blue behind Shine, and bring those stops in, one westbound, one eastbound, on either side of University Avenue, so as to create a bus hub on University Avenue and Waverly. So I see the 2 stops that exist at Ernie Davis becoming permanent stops. So as I said, this is expected to be done in time for shifting buses tomorrow. With that, and I'm working with Joe Guadagnola Physical Plant, we will be adding an accessible entry to the Shine Student Center on the east side, which will become a new permanent accessible entry. Bear with us through the construction on that. We are doing everything we can to get that installed immediately. We have a project to replace the glass doors in Shine. That's going to replace all the doors in Shine, all the glass doors in Shine. It's going to put remote locking on all the doors in Shine. It's one of the last buildings to get remote locking. But in the meantime, we're going to find a temporary door and door operator and card reader and push button to get that east door open as soon as we possibly can. So we're actually going to remove the glass door, install a temporary door that'll be there and be operable until the point at which we receive all the new doors and start installing them. And then my intention is to have that door be the first one that gets installed with a new door. So that's a long time coming. That project has been gone over a few times, but we'll make it happen later in the summer into the early fall. Yes, Dan?
Joe, I was actually looking at, I'm Diane, everybody. Hello, I work for the Disability Cultural Center. I was looking at the images from Brenda.
Yes.
That I got yesterday, and I wasn't able to attend that meeting yesterday, but I think Dave
was, yeah.
Be there, and some other people, and so Dave from Student Centers and Programming Services, Dave Pennick, our Associate Director. So, but I think it would be helpful for people to see
yes.
This.
Yep.
So, do you have a copy of this that you could share today, or maybe share later?
I could share it, yeah. It's a little bit in development, and there's some other things on there. We're looking at doing some bathroom upgrades along with it. But yeah, there's going to be new signage directing to the east and west entries. That's a story we should probably get out with new services.
So is that the Bird Library side?
That is the Bird Library side, yes. The next phase, which we'll be getting into next week, is, and actually there's Jim's been sending a few notifications out. We have a new way of blasting essentially everybody in every building. So he's been blasting everybody with messages about the pending water main replacement. This is a 1,400 feet of 100-year-old water main. Most of our water main on campus that is university owned and maintained, we've replaced everything of this age, but we're still reliant on the city service, of course. And we're replacing this piece of water main with the support of the city of Syracuse. They're actually providing all the material. To do that, essentially what we're doing, you can see some plastic pipe out here. We're building on the surface a 4-inch water main end to end, and we'll be tying in each of the buildings to that temporary service one by one, with some outages that begin this afternoon in Maxwell only, and then starting this evening, working through the night. All the buildings will get tied onto this temporary service, and then we'll actually start digging up the old water main, pulling it out of the ground, setting a new one in, building it end to end. Then for county health purposes, there's a series of tests you have to perform, and those tests go to the county. County approves that the water main is clean and ready to be put in service. Then we'll have another shift where we'll take buildings off of the temporary, put them on the new, and put that and backfill and be done. This whole effort's going to take about 2 weeks. The city did a pretty good effort the last 2 years of doing a slip lining of sewers in the area. So last summer they were up here doing College Place, and they worked their way around the corner doing some at University Place. They're taking a fiberglass material tube, and they pull it through the sewer main. They inflate it. They activate the enzyme and the curing agent with UV light or steam, and that produces a new fiberglass liner to the sewer, and that's good for well over another 50 to 100 years of use. So given that these sewers are over about 100 years, they're due. So we are going to complete a few segments in University Place that haven't been done yet, and also install a couple manholes that were never installed for services from buildings on campus that need to be. So that will be done as well. Coming out of our experience with the electrical issue last fall, we know that there's some distribution issues we have between Machinery Hall, Link Hall, which is a major interconnection point for a couple electric feeders across campus, branching out to the north. So we're going to use this as an opportunity to build some additional duct bank and manholes coming out of this Q2 area and heading towards Watson, to help give us more redundancy in our electrical service. Originally, when a lot of this was built in the 50s, 60s, 70s, we have a dual feeder So if a building loses one feeder, you can switch to the other, which improves our redundancy and generally makes our system extremely reliable. But that old system was done with single manholes. So if you have an active manhole and an active line and a dead line in one manhole, no one could go in and work on it because there's active 5,000 volts in the manhole. So over the years, we've gone to separating our manholes. So this will give us a run coming out of Link machinery with a separated manhole system, which is a lot safer and a lot more redundant. So this utility work will take about another month, and that's getting underway right now. As you can see here, the Quad 2 parking lot improvements are underway, and this is the first piece of enabling project. We're creating...
I'm sorry to interrupt, but I just got news that the accessible entrance I asked about when I got here is actually blocked, so there are people who want to come into this meeting.
Okay.
And can't get into
Dale, can you run down there? The accessible entry to Lyman?
I was worried about that. That's
Well, thank you for bringing that to our attention. So that went in yesterday, and that's part of the reason Diane makes a good point why we have our student site reps here, as well as 2 project managers on this job to keep an eye on everything at all times. So this new reworked Q2 lot, I equate this a lot to the work we did in Q3 several years ago. Took a lot of the bumpers off the quad, the bumpers and headlights facing the quad, pulled those vehicles off. This will have a similar effect. Building this new road, tucking it behind Lyman, will allow for the closure of Sims Drive, which will exist as a emergency vehicle access point only. It's going to be wide enough for a fire truck to drive up and approach. The fire units that respond to these buildings come from the west, so they will drive down the promenade. They will have the ability to click a gate off of Irving Ave and be able to get on. Emergency vehicles and service vehicles, like we've said, are the only vehicles allowed on the quad, or on the promenade. This work will take place through roughly the early July. When this work is done, this area is given back, and the lot will reopen. And we will, keep people appraised of how that is moving along. So that's the spot we're looking at now. As you can see, that red line is where we will be, where we have the accessible pathway installed as of yesterday. And this is where a lot of the electrical work is going on right now. So the actual the meat of this project is this road and site. Begins with the road and site work removal starting next week. That's actually where it will be removed. So then the entire area is going to be regraded smoothly and evenly from end to end. Once that road is removed, it'll allow for the infill in front of Bird Library, which will be about 4.5 feet from the low point. And we're planning on getting that done just before the 4th of July weekend. So west to east, this is the same view of that site with the temporary walk that's been installed here at Newhouse. Yeah, it's a 6-foot asphalt walk heading east from South Krause to Newhouse 3. It tucks in right behind where there's a donor bench right in that area in a garden, so it's tucked right in that area. Similarly, running east to west from the entry to Shine Student Center out to the area between Newhouse and Shine is the second accessible pathway. So through this construction, because of the length, 1,400 lineal feet, we'll have sort of floating areas of crosswalk, and the project in the end will be finished out from the middle out, so it'll start to open up more and more. But this is showing where the two cross-site access points will be between Shine and then straight out towards University Avenue. And this is looking at the other side here. We will be adding a gate in this location as well, like the cross. This traffic pattern is going to be, I see, is going to be pretty significant with the actual closure of University Place and some work on the quad. I already got the sense that there's a lot of people moving in this direction, so we'll do the same there.
So the second gate's going to be where?
Just north of the guard booth, in between Smith and Lyman. Yep. So then when we get into the point of putting everything back together along the promenade, there'll be many concrete pours to build the base for the brick pavers. There'll be a lot of improved drainage end to end, a new drainage system being installed that also functions as somewhat of a detention system. The accessible pathway to the gateway will be constructed, and that'll take about the month of July with some good weather. Following that, the brick pavers will be installed. The plinths will be constructed. The preparations for the future benches will be constructed, and that'll be about another 3 weeks getting right in close to move-in. Following that, a lot of the finish work, there will be landscaping and site lighting. The planter areas are using the same landscape architect that we used at Deneen Hall for planting selections, a lot of stuff that does well in our climate. We'll be planting 57 new trees along the promenade. We'll be increasing the site lighting along the promenade and also throughout the area of the Q2 lot to really brighten up that's a very significant pathway that is kind of dim, to brighten that up. And that will take us right through move-in. There will be some items that will go beyond move-in. Assuming we have a fairly dry summer, we're hoping to get a lot of that concrete work done to keep ourselves on that schedule of completion in the new house. And then the granite at the gateway appears to be a long lead item. We're working on finalizing the schedule. That is the actual replacement for the railings, the balustrade that are on either end. Those get pulled, but then they get replaced with newly cut stone that tie in those railing ends with the same detailing and the same type of stone. So when that work is done, it'll look like that gateway was constructed that way from the start. Then, based on lead time, there might be some site amenities still being installed: bike racks, railings, garbage cans, all those sort of detail items. Temporary, some sort of benches we're still working on. If we'll use the teak benches that are campus standard, or we'll find something else that we'll use temporarily. And then some miscellaneous landscape plantings that need to take place during the fall versus the very dry times of mid-August. Our driest times. It could be quite wet, but our driest time of the year. So this is the overall shot of the site, of what it would look like when finished. And then just quickly, there's just a few more slides here. We will be posting weekly updates on CPDC's new website, which launched a few weeks ago, facilities.syr.edu. Actually, this is the better link here is facilities.syr.edu, is all of the new facilities groups on one website, and that includes physical plant, CPDC, energy systems, all in one place. The Syracuse CPDC site is within that, and there are sections on projects that are happening in every building on campus by building. There is projects listed that have site impacts with very straightforward drawings of fenced areas and areas that are impacted by work, as well as road closures. This project will also be linked to a future framework website. There'll be periodic updates via new services on multiple platforms, and we're working out the schedule of sending those out now. And we're also in the process of installing a webcam on the roof of Ernie Davis Hall that'll look down the site, have a pre-programmed route to kind of fly, and we'll be taking shots of that and posting that on the website. That's something we're working on this week. So that's the overall view. Take any questions, Dave?
You talked about the amenity installations, and I'm trying to take good notes. You said the bike racks would be one of the amenities. What were?
Potentially stuff that sometimes the stuff takes a little time to get. That would be like possibly some railings. Actually, the railings are being manufactured locally, so we probably the railings that need to be manufactured we'd likely have on time. Trash cans, that sort of stuff. Those final pieces, yeah.
Thank you.
Yep. Yes.
Back to the utility work, the water main replacement you talked about?
Yes.
Where's that water main located?
It runs in the middle of University Place, end to end, from intersection to intersection.
And so, will all the buildings along University Place be affected by, will there be times when there's no water?
Jim, Jim's been handling this piece, and they've been sending out notifications already.
We're transitioning through to a temporary system so we can place the new line in place. When you go out and you see the smaller black plastic pipe, that's going to be a temporary water line that's going to run through there. In order to establish that over the next 2 days, we're going to have a series of water transitions. I don't believe anything's affecting Newhouse yet, and if I hear of anything, I'll let you know. But today, we're going to have, it's going to impact more of the old row buildings. We have to add some valves to give us flexibility within the system. So today, it's going to impact Maxwell from 1 to 5, and then after, from 5 till probably about 10 o'clock, it'll impact Tolly, Hall Languages, HB Krause, Sims, and then Hines is just going to be impacted from a fire perspective.
So there's going to be a series of these notifications, and we have a new method of actually mass emailing every person working in any given building. So we've started using that as of last week. So Jim is using this in this case for the outage this afternoon and evening, going to everyone in those buildings. Obviously, of course, beforehand he's talking to building coordinators, physical plant, making sure that the plan is the plan and everyone agrees to the plan before sending those mass emails. But this new approach has been working well for us.
Tomorrow there's going to be a mailing coming out later today, and tomorrow we've been dealing with the Shine Bookstore, Bird, the Faculty Center, Watson, and then Phi Epsilon.
Yeah.
And that's going to be a shutdown from 5 to approximately 8 tomorrow. And we're working both to get this information out as well as with the physical plant building managers to be able to put signage up so people don't use the restroom facilities if there's not water to properly.
And these are all planned after-hour events.
Yes.
The only during working hours event this afternoon from 1 to 5 was specifically just for Maxwell because of some other implications. Everyone in Maxwell will just be going over to Eggers.
Eggers will still have water,
Yeah. Newhouse, water, domestic, and fire are both off of Waverly, so there won't be any effect at Newhouse. But this approach, this building this temporary water main, actually is very efficient. It saves a lot of time and money putting this out, tying everybody onto the new, and then flipping them back on, or from the temporary, and then flipping them onto the new when we're done. Reduces the outage down of what would be outages of half a day or 2 days. Brings those outages times down to a matter of a few hours, and all after working hours.
Okay, so the sewer lining too, is that going to affect any service, or there'll be notice about that too?
I don't believe that the slip lining will, but let me and Jim will take a look at that.
And then the electrical component,
Yes.
is that going to have any outages to, well, obviously specifically?
Yeah, not to Newhouse. It will have some localized outages, I believe, in the machinery, Link, Slocum, Lyman, to be done after hours. A lot of the electrical infrastructure work, we're doing two things. We're reestablishing, we're removing the transformer that sits outside of Smith, and we're actually establishing a real electrical room in Smith that doesn't exist because it's fed from machinery. So that's an active piece of electrical infrastructure improvement. The remainder of the work is more bringing duct bank up north out of this project site for eventual linkage up to the system up near Watson. Yes?
Joe, I'm Calvin James, and I have a question. How does this whole project affect the game day traffic? Especially all the cars that are allowed to park in before and then coming in and out has always been a nightmare. So how does the whole project?
Well, I believe this is largely closed during major events, but the physical DPS and Parking and Transit have been involved through the planning process with Pete, and we haven't, I don't know, we haven't really thought there would be any other disruptions besides the normal game day traffic. Scott, anything you could offer?
The main College Place is still going to be the main. It's going to be wide open for all our buses and our main project to get the buses in and out of there. So it'll be different, certainly, with University Place closed. And the one thing we're looking at is I'm trying to figure out what to do with some of the limos, but once we work that out, I think we'll probably be okay.
Okay. Similarly, we did some changes on Sims Drive last year that we thought would cause disruption, but we worked through those operationally, and nothing really changed there as well. So the intention is to operationally manage it.
Hey, Joe.
Yes.
Do you mind if I come up and just highlight a couple of the accessibility?
Sure.
So, hello everybody, I'm Aaron Dukovich, I'm the university's ADA coordinator. I mentioned most of these things, I just wanted to highlight them for you. As everybody knows, University Place has got that big dip in front of Bird Library. That's going to be completely resurfaced to even that out, so it's going to be much more accessible for everybody. Also, the iconic photo in front of the Hall of Languages and the Syracuse University sign, that's going to have a wheelchair ramp made fully accessible. And Joe mentioned the new accessible entry to the east side of Shine, and that is going to be the side of Shine that's closest to the new bus stops on Waverly. And the other thing that I think you mentioned is that the restrooms that are right outside of Goldstein Auditorium are going to be made wheelchair accessible. So that's a big win, I think, for the entire university. And then I think Joe has mentioned other things. If anybody has any questions. The other thing I wanted to highlight is during construction, we mentioned the accessible entry that was blocked this morning. If anybody sees anything like that, they can go to Accessible SU, and we've got a link right on there that says report a barrier. That will go directly to me, and I can communicate with everybody on campus to make sure that we get those resolved as soon as possible.
Please do, and just like Diane did just now, because we're ready to respond. We don't want these situations. Nobody's interested. And between myself, Jim, 3 guys from LaChase, 2 student interns, we're going to have people around this site all day, every day during construction. So any issue, and we have a lot of equipment, we have materials, we have everything we could possibly need to eliminate that barrier in no time. And believe me, when I pick up the phone and I call Jason and tell him something like this needs to happen, he's there to make it happen.
So the dip in front of Bird Library will be raised. If University Place is closed off to cars and buses, though, won't that mean that folks will have to be dropped off at Waverly and then come up that larger hill from Waverly to get up to the quad?
Either Waverly or College Place will still. I think the big thing is that all of the buildings that are right off of Waverly will have the accessible entry on the Waverly, closest to the Waverly side.
That is a big piece of accessibility going forward in this building, and related between the Waverly side and then up to the old row is the utilization of accessible routes within the buildings to get people to the level that they need to get to transition from grade level at a University Place. I'm sorry, at Waverly up to the University Place. That's part of that longer range plan. Also fitting in with the relocation of the bus stops to a centralized location and an eventual renovation of the Shine Student Center that's been discussed for many years. Our intention is to eliminate the service front to Waverly because it's just not an appropriate front to a city street, and we hear it every time we go to the Landmark Preservation Board or the Planning Commission on any project on Syracuse University. There's 2 or 3 people ask, when are you going to get rid of the Waverly loading dock at the Shine Student Center? And it is at the forefront right now.
Thanks, Jim.
Yep.
One more question. So, traffic is being closed off to University Place. I thought you had mentioned something about a city project down University.
Yeah, the city has received $1.5 million federal grant to, and the grant is focused on cyclists, but it's to improve, in our neighborhood, generally speaking, in this area, it will essentially replace the road curb to curb. Curb lines won't move, but mill and resurface and restripe Waverly from all the way from from Irving all the way through to Comstock, and then Comstock from Waverly all the way down to Euclid. But the larger project goes all the way up north to Genesee Street, and then as far south at, I think it does end at Euclid. So we're kind of at the one end of it. That's $1.5 million. That's for to improve the road, to restripe it. The city gave a public presentation on it a few weeks ago. There'll be more outreach from the city of Syracuse on that. They're hoping to do it, to finalize their plan this summer, secure funding, and start that work next summer. But it might get pushed off a year if they can't secure the funding this summer. So that will take this road into a cycle lane on either side with some parking and bus stops incorporated into that. So the university is involved with the city, or staying involved with the city and CNS Engineers who's working on that project. And that's how we're going to work with them to put those bike or bus stop locations in the best spots to serve the university going forward. Because once they get that money and do that project, they're bound by the conditions of that grant to keep the roadway as it is for at least 20 years, I believe.
Hi again. So we were talking about signage. And
Yes.
So here I am trying to get here, and after 5 years, I still don't know where Lyman Hall was, which is embarrassing. But I own it, okay? And I'm like, oh, that's that one that looks like that has that other name. Okay, fine. So when I was coming up College Place by Bird, approaching, what will become the Promenade, there's all that green fencing.
Yes.
So I had to go all the way back to Shine to get here.
Yes.
So how soon is some of that going to be set up? And of course, that's all stairs anyway, so not everyone can access it that way. So I think that what you said about signage is really, really key.
Yep.
And another layer I was thinking about asking you about is also like with description, I was sort of prompting you, as you and I are friends and know each other, about give us a visual description.
Yes, and I appreciate that.
Well, thank you. I'm not trying to be annoying. It's my intention to be helpful, of course. That's my intention. But on the website, and we talked about this a little bit off grid already, you and I, but this website, I hope it'll have descriptions and not just images, and that if there's a webcam, that there'll be descriptions of those images. And this is, it's just an array of ways of approaching
Yes.
information. And then I know Aaron thinks of all that, and many of us do, so I'm not suggesting I'm the one enforcer that anyone in this room doesn't also care about that. I'm sure we all do. But another facet that I was thinking about in terms of timing is, I'm glad to hear you have these student, liaisons, and I know many students have been in touch with me about advocacy concerns and concerns about the communication, and we certainly know a lot of faculty have expressed a lot of concern about all this. So just as a suggestion, in addition to having this kind of space where we follow up from a forum or a town hall kind of meeting, there's the sound in the background right now to echo what I'm saying, and the noisy construction sounds. It would be nice, in addition to the messaging and the information and these letters, to have meetings like this on a regular basis, so that people know what's going on and they have updates, because a timeline changes.
Yes.
And all kinds of
If we have a rainy week or whatever.
So having a kind of regular time that people could gather and maybe have some tea or just talk to each other and have a really overt commitment to the transparency of all of this, since there's so much complexity and angst around some of it all.
Yeah, this space is ours. This auditorium's offline for the summer. So we could meet here. We could take a look at the construction schedule to see where milestones are that make it most appropriate, and I will work with Sarah.
And that is part of the plan. So as you know from the announcement that went on a couple weeks ago, when the framework is released, a website will go up at the same time, and a master event, a master calendar of events will be released as well, to have regularly scheduled meetings that are much more interactive, similar to what you just recommended, Diane, occurring throughout the summer and well into the fall. So that is part of the process moving forward.
Awesome.
And on your first point on signage, Jason, he's got it. We're going to be all over the signage. We will be walking as well to start seeing where can we add signage, because we cannot have too much signage of where to go.
These first couple days are a little hectic as we still work around the buses and that congestion. We should have the full south side established today with that new walkway in between Smith Drive. So yesterday kind of was just the takeoff of this, and as we get through towards the end of today, all fencing should be in place and should be a lot more uniform and well advertised what's going on.
Every time someone says fencing, I want to say saber or foil, but I know that's not really funny, so I'm not doing that.
Right.
There also will be 5 very large project signs as people approach the project from 5 different points. One will be on either side of Hall of Languages as people come from the quad direction. One will be at either end of the project site, approaching from the east or west, and then one will be between Newhouse and Shine down by Waverly. So generally people who are visiting, potential students, will be able to see the very large signs saying, this is the project, this is what's going on.
And echoing, and Sarah, thank you for those awesome updates. I saw some of that, and I'm happy to hear it's unfolded further. And in terms of the accessible SU site that Aaron is citing, which we of course have across campus, and the facility site, I hope they'll be linked together, right?
Yes.
So there's explicit ways that if people are on the facility site, that maybe some of that content goes to you, Joe, but it also goes to Aaron, right? So that, and that people know that that's going to happen, so that when this announcement and information sharing happens, that people are aware that there's cross-pollination between these two sites and what their purposes are.
And we're also, the person who's made our website is also working with ITS. Because I know, I couldn't imagine you do a first run making your website and you nail everything that's accessible. It's just, I can't imagine that's possible. So they're going to go through and check everything.
So like on Accessible SU, as Aaron articulated very helpfully, if someone has a concern, they can put information in, then it goes to Aaron and it's routed to the appropriate people, in some cases you, right, Joe? So, but is there a place if somebody doesn't know about Accessible SU, which I hope they would since there's going to be this cross-pollination, but if they're on the facility site and they have a concern, is there a place where they can ask questions, give input, make suggestions, say that they want to have a meeting with some student activists, whatever?
We have now, we have just established a CPDC address that gets to Michelle Puro in our office and gets to the appropriate people.
Thanks, Joe.
Yeah.
So we're talking a lot about signs, which don't necessarily do folks good if you can't see them at all. And certainly there are a lot of elaborate technology gizmos that can help us get to wayfinding and navigation, but something that might be a little more simple, and not just to those who can't visually access it, but say someone was making a trek up the hill using a mobility device or a wheelchair, which I've seen plenty of times. I've been a part of it myself. Are the signs and maybe the routes outlined in text that could be accessed before someone makes their trip? I know a lot of times when folks are thinking about how they're going somewhere, with disabilities involved and other factors too, moving a cart or moving a lot of stuff. There's a lot of thought that goes into how am I going to get there, what's my route?
Yeah. Can we talk, you and Jason and Sarah, to see how we can do that better? I think that'd be...
The mapping app on this, which I used this morning because I thought it would tell me which way to go, didn't tell me that that was blocked off. So like updating the maps.
That's on SU map on the SU app. Okay.
Maps can be difficult.
Yeah.
And things are changing every day. If there was more of a directive for folks to funnel toward even a text document that could be read to you with a screen reader, that could be enlarged or changed in size, an accessible PDF.
Would it be helpful? Yeah. So to put on the website with the project description that would be linked, SU facilities and accessible SU, to have a text section there described. I would imagine on that site we're going to have an image of current state of the project in terms of fence and pathways, and then to have a narrative description of that image is that what you're asking about, Eddie?
Yeah, and to kind of explain where the signs are.
Okay.
That just says, hey, there, you know, so hey, you get to shine. There will be a big sign there that says you can't go there, but you've already worked your butt off. You get to shine.
Yeah.
For some folks, turning around means going home.
Yeah, understood. Yeah, let's talk a little bit maybe and with Aaron as well to see how we can do that. Yes.
So, Joe, I'm a little nervous about the August 18th and the August 23rd.
Yes.
I'm going to start having 7,000 to 10,000 visitors coming to campus. So, I mean, we can talk maybe a little bit more offline about that, but I need to get a better sense of what's going to be open. I appreciate you saying things are going to be kind of done from the middle out.
Yes.
If you and I could just talk more specifically about what that means
Mm-hmm.
in terms of the publications and communications.
Yes.
What we're going to be able to do and what we can't.
Yes.
That's okay.
And Sarah will be a big part of that as well. So we can start sending notice out to parents mid-summer about what to expect and what based on where the progress is.
Yeah, because there's the we have all the new students and families, but of course returning students as well, and we work with parking and DPS to really outline the routes. So yeah, maybe we can get back together.
And with the road closed, there'll be some operational things to change as well.
Yeah, because we're going. I'm trying to think if I sent it to you. We're going to print the directions on how to get to each residence hall.
Okay.
I feel like you've seen that.
Yes.
That would be. I do think you saw.
I did. Because Watson's unaffected, being the closest residence hall, really.
Okay. I think I'm most concerned about the traffic that goes consistently down the quad and into the shine.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a constant flow of people.
That shouldn't be a problem.
Okay.
As the center of that project gets done. There might be some of these guys moving, some materials back and forth in that area, but that you should see brick pavers down, clean walkable surface from end to end, in that middle of the site. But yeah, this is going to be a constant discussion going through, from meetings to discuss project status, look ahead the next week, next 2 weeks, and just tracking based on how things go.
Thank you.
So we're going to talk briefly about off-street parking on Waverly and Comstock.
Sure.
Just wanted to, I know we're going to lose some of the off-street parking due to the bus stops we're putting in.
Mm-hmm.
But can you confirm that some of the safety factor off-street parking can be eliminated? A good example would be coming out of the Marion lot, where there's no line of sight of traffic when you come out of there.
Mm-hmm.
Or some of those areas could it be addressed as well?
I think it was, I think it was like 24 spots or something that were eliminated for the bus stops to be placed. And this allows the bus to pull over right to the curb and traffic to go by the bus when it makes its stop. And those are all unmetered spots at this point. That's the only change that's associated with the bus stop shifts. Going forward with the city's project to improve Waverly Comstock, I think the elimination of all parking on Waverly and Comstock was discussed. It was brought up by the city. It's a thing that helps some and hurts others. DPW said 100% for it. It makes plowing a lot easier. It would generally make the street much even more safe, I would think, without the clear giving those clear lines of sight. But it would push people a little bit further out in terms of parking. But yeah, that's part of the consideration for the design of the upcoming project. And like I said, that's a collaboration with the city and the university and Centro. We need to make sure that primarily out of that we get the safest Waverly Comstock area we can get. We get our buses where they make the most sense for the university students. And make sure it aligns with all of our future plans for those streets. So whether parking's in or out, it can't be said right now. Yes.
On that line, though, I hope that you will be able to coordinate university open forum input sessions with the city, since we own both sides of the street, and the vast majority of utilization on those roads during the day are university
Yep.
students and faculty and staff. I think we have an incredibly huge interest in making sure it meets our needs and works properly.
Yes.
There's lots of trepidation over what's going to happen on Waverly. I mean, even the little bit of communication that's happened so far about the restriping that's happening there right now, people don't understand. So I don't know if there's visuals
There
or something
is-
that is even going to show what's happening now for the big main project, because it says something about one-way bike lanes, and there's a lot of people that ride bikes, so they are asking, well, if they can ride one direction, like what do they have to do, ride in traffic to go back the other way? I mean, so there's, we need more information.
Yes, so this is a City of Syracuse project that we're working collaboratively with them. With the grant, as part of the city taking the grant money, they need to roll out this project to public forums on several different occasions, several different project milestones. So they rolled out their first communication on it in March. And I'm not sure when the next one is. As they work through the design process, they have to, these are milestones the city has to accomplish to get the money from the federal government to do the project. So from our standpoint, we will be echoing all those public forums that the city has to do anyways, and encouraging university participation in those public forums. As, like you said, as we are one of the major stakeholders and major property owners here, but the city also has to be sensitive to the Marshall Street Business District, the medical institutions down Genesee, all the business owners on Genesee, and even the Euclid neighborhoods. So they're engaging many, many stakeholders in these public forums that are required by them by law to do. So we will be echoing that and participating in that process. But we are going to be advocating for what we know the university needs, while also allowing the opportunity for university staff to participate as public citizens. We know specifically the needs of Newhouse and the academic function of that pull-off, and we're already engaged with the city in discussions on the legal means by which that remains as it is.
All right. By echoing, you mean that we're going to be able to make sure that there are university input, public feedback sessions to see what the design is and to give input of what's needed or why somebody thinks something wouldn't work based on years of experience?
Yes, yeah, and these will be public forums, to any City of Syracuse resident or any interested person here.
Specifically some posted here at.
Yeah, they typically roll out a series of these through the TNT process, and we would ask for at least one to be held here. They'll roll it out to the different, today's neighborhoods tomorrow. They'll be engaging the business districts. All these folks, they need to check all these boxes as part of getting the federal money to do the project. So we'll be part of it.
I'm looking for some kind of commitment that there will be.
Yes. Yes. No, I just state that, I'm sorry to use the word checking boxes, but they need to accomplish all these items, or else they don't get the money to do the project from the federal government. So they have to ensure that they do the proper engagement plan and actually execute it.
To be on them. I want the proactive action to be on our part.
Yes.
To make sure that there is.
Understood.
Could we also be assured that when that occurs, it will be when people are around, other than administrators and some faculty and some students, but most of the faculty and most of the students, and I guess all of the administrators, because during the summer, we know some of us have 12-month commitments that are different than the 12-month commitments that accompany doing research offsite or traveling, et cetera. So people have different roles, and I think some of what's happened in the past that being sort of lumped together with some of this communication, which is unfortunate, and I'm not saying the communication is doing that, I think it's associative, that people are communicating about them together, similar concerns as was demonstrated by the protests, et cetera, that happened yesterday. Things sometimes seem to be described when not as many people are here to contribute to the conversation. And proactively reducing the risk of that happening, I think, is very important. So it's about who's around also.
Yeah, I'm going to get a timeline for this. I'll share it with the group from the city engineer's office.
And to Eddie's point about, maps aren't always the SU map app feature is actually screen reader accessible, and it does have a talking component depending on the kind of mobile device. So consumer uses. So what I would love to see happen, if we can do this, and I know Sarah's behind this 300%, we talked about things in other contexts. So like, how can we have as many different ways to communicate the same consistent information? So it isn't just that there's one way that people know they can go there. And it does, you use the word redundancy as it's sort of a stylistic convention in the profession, right? So why not do that with the information about all of that?
Great. As always, I'm available anytime for questions. Jim will be here, and we'll have our students around. We will be here every hour of every day until the job is done. And thanks for coming out. If you have any other questions, feel free to reach out to me at any time. Thank you.